Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. Today is the day, the official release of my new expansion mastermind. This is my first non-crypto course that was inspired by topics I've been discussing over the past year during my weekly live streams, and it covers everything from expanding consciousness, health and wellness, fasting and detoxification, developing skills and mastering the skills you already have, increasing your productivity and focus, and overall holistic lifestyle coaching. This expansion mastermind packages all those important concepts and teachings into one thorough, step-by-step coaching course that can be utilized like a mentorship program. This course is available now on my website, watersabove.com, and you can find the direct link in the description of this video as well as the pinned comment below. And any Patreon supporters of mine get a 20% discount unlocked on this course. So since today is September 1st, today is the start of the new month on Patreon. If you've been patiently waiting to join, I really appreciate your support. You can sign up today by visiting patreon.com/watersabove, and you'll get access to my weekly Red Pill podcasts, our community Discord server, and you'll also receive the promo code that gives you 20% off this new course when you sign up for a Patreon membership. I'm so grateful for all your support and looking forward to hearing your feedback on this new course. It's my best work to date, and I know it will connect the dots for those enlightened beings out there who are seeking to be the change and start taking action from their purpose while staying accountable in the process. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the clear pill. So I just wanted to bring something up because I had a couple people over on Patreon re-mention something that happened a couple weeks ago in Red Pill episode number 73. And it was this setup that I shared around the 42-minute mark of this specific podcast. So I shared this about almost 2 weeks ago on August 21st, and then here we are today, and we're looking at a chart that's actually very similar to that setup that I shared. Now, the reason that I shared this analysis specifically on this episode was because it was following up a decode that I came out with called the Jubilee Decoded, and I was talking about how I was anticipating the rest of the Shemitah year to go, potentially because of it following the 1973 Shemitah. And around that time, we had the Nixon shock, and we had a little bit of a recessionary time period between 1973 to 1975. So that was a very thorough video. It was about 1 hour long, one of my best decodes I've come out with, and it really broke down not only just the 1973 cycle, but kind of a review of the 2000 dot-com bubble into 2001, as well as the housing crisis in 2007, 2008, a little bit of a review of what happened in 2015 and how the crypto market behaved back in the last Shemitah of 2015, kind of just aggregating all that data, bringing it together, and then sharing it in this specific Red Pill podcast. So again, anyone who joins the Patreon, you get access to these weekly podcasts. I come out with one on every Sunday, and they're longer. I cover the market as a whole, and then I finish off these episodes talking about different altcoins that the members vote on. So in this specific episode, it was great to be able to share this scenario, and now we're watching it come to fruition. And a little bit of the idea here was kind of like a slow drain out into the September full moon, and considering the 25K top in the short term, as well as Ethereum hitting that $2,000 target and having it roll over a little bit into the finality of this, kind of transition point as we get closer to the Hebrew New Year, or Rosh Hashanah, which we've been talking about on this channel every single video. So this is something that I'm looking forward to. It was great to see this moment happen. Also, a little bit of a shift in the energy that we've gotten in the lunar cycles, and this is something that has happened in the past, specifically around the time frame of September. It has everything to do with Rosh Hashanah and that transition period, and who's really running this market. It's being ran on a calendar that most people aren't considering. So here on this channel, we've been talking about that for over a year now. It was great to be able to get this episode out in advance and to actually watch this setup come to fruition. So here we are, we're battling these levels, and I want to kick off this episode just talking a little bit about the dates as we usually do. And then after we go over the dates, we could pivot into some of the technical analysis. So here we are. It is the start of September, so we did have a monthly close for the market last night. There's a couple things going on here. The 2nd of September, which will be tomorrow, has a couple things happening. So when we take tomorrow and compare it to Rosh Hashanah, or the last day of the Shemitah, you can see another 33. So we have 3 weeks and 3 days. The 33 keeps following us. It was a big theme going back a couple weeks ago when I told everyone to watch out for the 33rd week of the year, and we saw what happened. So when we're in the year of the Shemitah, some of these number sequences like 22, 11, 33, these master numbers, they become much more important, and you kind of have to disregard certain things like lunar cycles and maybe sometimes even TA. Now, what helps us specifically, this community over here, the Wolf Pack, is because we're considering all that stuff. We're taking the esoteric, the numerology, the gematria, we're taking all of this stuff, including the astrology, and packaging it together with the technical analysis. So the TA is providing us with levels, either to the upside or the downside. Then we have the overall lunar cycle giving us somewhat of a rhyme and reason to when we're going to have pivot points. But when we get really dialed in, it's when we're using the date numerology and the gematria. That is what is really helping us out here to fine tune. And you know, they have this saying of don't time the market. It's all about time in the market. And well, that's definitely true. Having experience is profound, but furthermore, having these tools, these more esoteric tools, provide you with an kind of like a lens into how this market operates that most people will not be able to understand. So getting back to the connection here between this date, there is another connection, which will be the eclipse of November. So we have 11/7, the 7/11, and you can see right here when we take both of these dates and put them together, that is 66 days apart. So I'm not sleeping on this date tomorrow, because there's something to be said with this, as well as this date of the eclipse we know has that 15 date numerology. This 15 number has been following us the whole year, ever since we entered the year of the tiger. And here we are. Tiger equaling 15 in Chaldean. The tiger is tied to Jupiter, the striped planet. And coming back to the astrology, anyone who's been following over the, pretty much since February, you've been hearing us talk about this theme of the tiger, and anything connected to the tiger or Jupiter has been seemingly more of a negative or more bearish energy. So with that being said, we are also in the year of the Shemitah, so this is the most chaotic time for the markets. This is when you'll see the stock market specifically become the most volatile. So as you know, the stock market is typically low volatility, but when we're in a Shemitah year, it is totally different than that. You start seeing the most volatility, even in the least volatile indices. So keep it moving. We know that tomorrow has a couple date connections. Now, this isn't anything crazy. Nothing as big as what we're anticipating, like the eclipse. The eclipse of November and the eclipse of October 25th, those I would anticipate there to be some bigger moves. But tomorrow, I could maybe kind of consider it a little bit of a pivot date, transition date. As we've been talking about lately, we've been putting our emphasis on these dates more as pivot dates. So we are currently in the 35th week, and we are approaching the first quarter moon. As we get closer to the full moon, we're probably going to see more of a setup like I shared in this video, in this Red Pill podcast. And that was exactly what I was anticipating. Somewhat of a move down into these supports. We could even have what's called a bear trap, where we dip slightly below these. fill out that wick right here that came in, and then have a slight bounce. So when I measured this move up here, because I'm not trying to say that Bitcoin will go to 33,000, that wasn't the point. It was just showing you what would be the maximum amount of move that I personally anticipate. So it would be more technical to see Bitcoin retest these levels at least around 25K, maybe even up into these supports over here in the lower 30K region. But if we're going to make a dramatic move to the upside, at best, I imagine Bitcoin could hit that 33K territory, and that would be in alignment with a 33 theme we've been talking about for weeks. So don't get too caught up in this arrow coming to the top side. It was just to show if we are going to have a bigger move as a recovery, that would be sort of the level that I would anticipate. And if anyone watched my Jubilee Decoded video, you know that at the end of the last Shemitah, Bitcoin actually did a nice recovery run. So I considered that as part of this analysis. Again, I'm not making this stuff up off the top of my head. I'm a technical analyst, so I have to go back in the past. I need to take the data from the past and I need to apply it the best considering today's market conditions. And that was sort of the overall thesis around this. So 33K, it's not like a moon boy number. It's just the overall technical move to anticipate if we are going to get a nice bullish final recovery before we get into the heat of Q4. And in the crypto market, we tend to see some very interesting things happen in Q4 specifically. We get our all-time highs and we typically get the lows of the cycle. So that's something we've been talking about for a while now, and that aligns perfectly with the total lunar eclipse of November. So any astrologers out there, I would love to know some of your ideas in the comments around late October into early November and see what you guys are thinking. So one other thing to mention before we get into the TA, we have this date of 9/3, and I went over this in my last Red Pill podcast that I put out this past Sunday. And this is an amazing connection that we found here. So September 3rd leaves 119 days left in the year, and we know 119 is the mirror of 9/11, and we've been talking about 9/11 a lot this year because we're in the 21st anniversary of 9/11. That'll be about 11 days from now, actually. So this 9/11 date and the connection to the number 21 is massive because we're in the year of the Shemitah. In 2001, when the September 11th ritual happened, we were also in a Shemitah, and that was around the time of the dot-com bubble. That dot-com bubble is very similar to what we're experiencing today in the crypto market. We have upwards of, 20,000 cryptocurrencies, maybe a handful of them actually have utility, and the rest are just taking up space. So a drain out is necessary for a, liquidity shift. And the money needs to go to where it needs to go instead of where it's been. And over the past 3, 4 months, 5 months, we've been seeing retail slowly leave this market. We've been seeing the enlightened beings like you guys take this time to educate yourself and learn the tools and tricks of the trade. So I congratulate you on still being around this market because, in my opinion, the most important time to focus on a market and to get excited is when no one else is excited. You want to become an investor when it's boring and bloody, not when it's exciting. You sell when everyone's happy. And if you could keep that cycle up decade after decade, you could master the art form of investing. This is a game of emotions. And when you remove your emotions and become calm and actually analyze this from a calm state of being, that's what really helps you unlock this ability. That's a big reason why I came out with this expansion mastermind course exactly at this time, because I wanted it to be out there before we get to November and December, when the market's going to have that, historical type of price projection. I want everyone to be prepared for that, but consciously prepared for that, and the emotions will be under control for you when that time comes. You'll know what to do. While the masses will be confused, they won't know what the hell is going on, you're going to be prepared. So this expansion mastermind is really about unlocking that conscious perspective, and this will actually lead into the other aspects of your reality, whether that be finances, the way you develop your portfolio, your overall investment thesis, even the business you run. It's going to be profound in all of those areas of life. So This date of September 3rd, leaving 119 days left in the year, we are in that 21st anniversary to 9/11, and we know the number 21 shows up in Saturn, and Saturn is everything to do with the Shemitah year, because the Shemitah is the sabbatical year, which that Sabbath is Saturn. We got that 21, and what's so amazing about this is you can see Saturn equals 93 in English ordinal, and this date in the Gregorian system is 9/3. So we have two big connections here. Now the third connection is the fact that this date is happening on a Saturday, the day of Saturn. So lots of connections with this, and you're seeing my methodology now. So apply this on your decodes and you're going to have a lot of confluence. So I'm really interested in this date. I don't know what more to say about this besides it's going to be interesting. And if we actually take this day to the last day of Rosh Hashanah, so we have September 27th will be the final day of Rosh Hashanah, the last day of Elul before actually properly moving into Tishri. And you can see it is 3 weeks and 3 days, kind of similar to where we started this decode. We're just shifting it up a little bit. So for those people who live in Australia and New Zealand, this energy could be kicking in tomorrow, again, within the overall window. And then for anyone in this hemisphere, we're looking at September 3rd for these connections as we move into this weekend. So I'm really excited for this because it's going to be happening on a Saturday, meaning the overall markets are going to be closed. The only thing that's going to be trading is crypto. And that might mean that it'll just be an overall pivot of energy into tomorrow's close, because Friday, tomorrow, is the stock market close, and the Forex and overall precious metals. So everything's pretty much closing into tomorrow afternoon. Perhaps the energy kicks in then. It's gonna be pretty wild. I'm stoked to see how this all shifts, and my whole energy around this market now has been just basking in what's to come, because we are at a time that comes around once every 7 years, and we're here live, keeping up with it week by week. It's like news for enlightened beings. So I'm enjoying the ride, and I'm looking forward to what's to come, and I'm using every moment I can outside of focusing on the recent course that I released to develop and build my investment thesis. I advise everyone who's interested in crypto and investing right now, get your investment thesis solidified now before we move into the end of this 7-year cycle. Get yourself prepared so that way when the time comes, you can take action. So let's move on to some of the TA. So here we are. We went over a little bit of the setup here, and now we're going to bring out some other things. We don't want this to look too confusing for everyone, so I'm just going to break this down step by step. So we had these 3 color-coded numbers up here talking about supports and resistances. One was this trend line right here that was acting as a rejection, pretty much a resistance line. And then ever since the transition into late July, we flipped above it, rode on the outside, came up into a new microcycle high, then back tested it again. Then now we've back tested it again, and we're still holding this trend line. So if I can put emphasis on any trend line right now to look out for on Bitcoin, this is the one, this red trend line. So that's why I labeled it number 1 in red, because it is the most significant. Now we had here was this parallel channel. This parallel channel was built off of a bear flag. So this would be anticipatory of moving to another leg to the downside, but let's not look at that right now. Let's just focus on this horizontal support level. So I'm going to turn this off to make this look much, much better for you guys. And when we're looking at this from a horizontal support level and resistance, you can see that 21,500 is a clear resistance level. Rejection, rejection, hold of support, rejection, fall down. So this level is very key if you were to draw a line across the screen at 21,500, and then another level would be right here, somewhere between 19,200 and 19,000 flat. Those are your daily close supports at the bottom, and thus far we've been holding 19,500, wiggling around this area, kind of getting rejected every time Bitcoin approaches 20K. The 20K is a more psychological level. This is just bare bones TA, but this is what a lot of people overlook. You can't just be looking at, these trend lines, you really have to look at horizontal levels when you analyze markets, especially on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's market cap is definitely in the upper range and it has maturity now. At least with 13 years of chart data, we can start really focusing and dialing in on horizontal trading ranges and utilizing Wyckoff method to know what's to come next. So I train Wyckoff method to everyone that I work with, and it's a big part of my mastermind course, my crypto mastermind, and my advanced trading course. I love Wyckoff method. It is like a market compass. And the biggest thing that's confusing for people who are new to investing is, where are we in this market? And Wyckoff method answers that question. It gives you schematics to let you know, where are you? So if you're lost, you can be found. And that's why I really love Wyckoff, and it's why I've been utilizing it since I started this channel. So looking at this horizontal trading range, it is hard to say that this level here is going to hold for much longer. We know that the daily close level is somewhere around 13.2, 13.3 because of all these levels down here. And that is within a flinch of 19K flat, which are these closes right here. These were big volatile days. You can tell because of a washout plus a buyback the next day. So I call these twin tower candles, speaking of 9/11, and this is a inverse twin towers structure. It's a very typical thing to liquidate longs and then to liquidate the shorts on the reverse within the 24-hour period. It's a very sophisticated move by the market maker. Then we went on this uptrend, got rejected, and now here we are kind of back testing levels. So let's bring out some of the information from the weekly. And let's look at some of our moving averages. So here we are on the weekly chart. We just had a weekly close, and 2 weeks ago we closed below the 200 simple moving average. This brought us down to the 8 simple moving average, which we also crossed below in the same week. Then you can see here very clearly, within last week, we popped up to the 8 simple and then got rejected. That's a clear sign of this was not ready to recover instantly. This needed a moment. And as we approach the finality of the Shemitah and this part of the lunar cycle, this is kind of where the chaos ensues. So you got to be a little bit more conservative on these types of market structures. And then we still have the 200 EMA that is yet to be tested to the upside at 26,500. If we were to have any weekly closes above the 200 simple moving average again, the next swipe I would imagine is that 26. So the downside levels would essentially be filling out this wick down to 17.6 at the bottom. And then obviously if we were to have weekly closes below 19.2, that would indicate that continuation of the downside, and it could even have a short-term spring. So something like a wipe down even lower and then a buyback. These are typical moves in markets, especially for cryptocurrency. So not really making any calls on this. It's more about just overall structure and playing at one level at a time. And if the market gets oversold right now, being oversold, typically we have those buybacks. We get back into that 50 territory on RSI, and then it's all good in the hood. MACD not looking so great. We have the wolf cross with downside implied on the daily. These are all signs of like really kind of chill, lax Bitcoin price action. We're actually in one of the lower volatility times for Bitcoin. These moments don't come around too often, and when they happen, it kind of remains there. And any bullish momentum is definitely a good time to take action on de-risking, especially if you're a trader or if you're somebody that's trying to just de-risk a little bit into the end of the Shemitah year. So let's move into Ethereum and see what the story is. Okay, here we are on ETH, and we're seeing a wolf cross with downside implied where the 8 simple crosses below the 55 and multiple daily candle rejections on the 55, even up to today on this wick. Not a good thing. Now, closing below the 8 simple moving average, that would definitely indicate not the most, bullish close, but then holding 1426, that would be fine. So if this is to move to the downside, there would be nothing wrong with 1426 and even a move like this, coming down and then having a W pattern. So there is your W. Now, let me show you another thing. We know we have this firmament dome. Let me turn off these moving averages. And this firmament has been perfect. It's been playing ever since the all-time highs, multiple rejections, all those rejections there, popping out of it recently and then coming to backtest it, just like we're seeing with Bitcoin when I showed you that trading range before. So Couple things to say here. Another thing was this trend line that I drew on the chart. I shared this with everyone in advance, and we're seeing this was a key level to come and backtest. We successfully backtested it perfectly along the firmament. That's 2 levels of confluence, and now we're kind of here. You could see there is somewhat of a resistance structure perhaps right there. I wouldn't count on that too much, but it is something to look at, some sort of falling wedge, and those are bullish breakout patterns. So not a whole lot to say here besides just following up with the Bitcoin TA, and Bitcoin having any bullish breakouts. I would look for ETH to gravitate to 1,700, and then any closures above 1,700, we could probably move back into this 888 fib somewhere around 19. But let's take it one step at a time. Closing below these levels, by the way, that's where things can get dicey. If we can't hold the firmament, the next level would be technically right here around 1,250, because this is that W that led to the bullish breakout that we never back tested. So keep that in mind. I hope you guys are enjoying the TA today. Lots of information. I know some people might be a little bit confused because we're really moving fast here. Lots of information. But if anyone is interested in learning technical analysis, especially right now, you know, the Mastermind course that I released a while ago, it's still working to this day. There's so much information and so much value in that. It's so well priced too for what you get. Over 100 and pretty much 120 videos, and it includes the exit strategy blueprint for anyone who wants just the thorough everything from the start of learning TA, learning how to invest, learning how to develop a portfolio, all the way to the end where you actually know how to take profit on this market. So if anything is confusing, that's another opportunity to consider just educating yourself in this time, you know, even if it's not with my videos, if it's someone else that you resonate with. I just really care about everyone, and I really want you guys to take this opportunity right now in the final moments of the Shemitah to get educated on this market, to be one of the few who actually take action of these market crashes. Very few people in the world take action on these market crashes. They wait till markets get exciting and then they FOMO in. The wolf pack is going to do the opposite. We are the few that are going opposite of the herd. So here we are on XRP. There is not too much to say. It's pretty much the same story as last week. So we're not going to really add too much to this, besides we did start to close dailies below the 33.3 level. And as you can see, it did flip into a resistance. So we're looking at like 4 candles straight in a row getting rejected exactly at that level. And now we're coming into this back into the same horizontal trading range, holding about the median line of it. So the next level is really 31, and that could be happening, especially if Bitcoin comes down into 19K flat or the high 18,000 area. We'll probably see XRP come back to 31 cents. And then after that, we will be filling these wicks. And we have about 6 or 7 wicks to the downside. All of these buy walls pretty much around 29 cents. So I can't really add too much more than that because this is lacking the volatility. And also, I've had a lot of people from the Hex community reach out. They want some more TA on Hex. So I will be sharing probably in my next video a little bit more TA on that. Again, shout out to the Hex community, whoever's come over and started following my work and joined the wolf pack. I appreciate all you guys, and we'll definitely be adding more TA to the overall, you know, markets as we go. But in my red pill episodes that are part of my Patreon, I've gone over Hex about 5 times, maybe 4 or 5 times already. So go check those out. And again, I appreciate everyone's support. I hope you're having a beautiful day and you enjoyed this video. Really looking forward to hearing all the feedback on this new expansion mastermind. And again, anyone who joins the new expansion group coaching Patreon membership, which also just launched today, you will be getting this expansion mastermind course for free included in that group coaching membership. So that's at patreon.com/watersabove. You'll see that new membership was just added today. So check the pinned comment below and the description box if you're interested in this. I'm looking forward to your expansion, looking forward to coaching you through it. Appreciate every single one of you. Much love.